After thinking about it almost since we purchased the boat, we've finally taken the plunge and decided to build a hard dodger. As with everything, it's been taking a lot longer than we thought, but it should be a great addition to the cabin top and cockpit when we're finished.
Alright, what do we got going today?
Well, after working on the trim...
Speak up.
Huh?
Speak up. Huh?
I don't like talking. Well, after wonderful weather that we've had, and I've been working inside all this time, today rainy, nasty, and decided to come out here and actually do something. But so we started building the Dodger frame. It's not going to be made with 2x4s, obviously, but just getting a general layout. The previous Dodger that was on the boat was actually just the frame, the metal frame, and it stuck out really far and was too tall and just all around looked odd. So now it's trying to sculpt something that's going to be a little bit more, a little bit better to look at. And what we'll do is we're going to fiberglass the top, make it a hard top on it, then it'll be cloth sides. But we do want to have seating room underneath, so you can sit inside the cockpit and still see things and still be covered. So we'll have about a 2.5 foot area. Is that too much?
That's gonna be too much noise, yeah.
We were looking for something to add to the frame to get an idea of what the shape was going to look like from the sides and the top. So we ended up taking the sunshade that we have, shade cloth material, and drape that over to make sure that we're getting the right angles and make sure the height and length was going to be okay. We decided that this was actually a little bit too high, so we went back, cut them down a little bit further, draped it over again to get an idea from that point. For making the hard fiberglass top, we actually ended up using a 1/2 inch Corcel foam. To get the shape that we wanted, I ended up using 3 2x12 boards, traced with a compass actually what shape we wanted, so we had the right angles. Then cut that out to give kind of an arch. And on top of that, we ended up just using a 1/4 inch piece of plywood, and that's what gave us our overall shape. On the top, we ended up using 2 layers of 17-ounce biaxial cloth without mat, and on the bottom we used 1 layer of 17-ounce biaxial without mat. We decided, since we're using epoxy, it's a little bit easier to wet out. To adhere the fiberglass in properly, Corcel foam is actually a little porous, so just to make sure that we didn't suck out and dry out the laminate that we're putting on top, I ended up just mixing up some epoxy, straight neat epoxy, and ended up spreading that all across the surface. On top of that is the first 2 layers of the 17-ounce biaxial cloth went on there, and once that was cured, we were able to pop the mold off, flip it over to the other side, and do the single layer of 17-ounce biaxial on the back side.
I like the faces you make. Grrr. Grrr. I'm going to kill this.
It's just this is such a difficult area to work because
the tarp.
I can't roll it out. So I'm getting air bubbles.
This is the story of our lives. Try it once, doesn't work out, don't have the money to try again.
Yeah. Make do with the screw up.
Yeah. Be that boat.
That's alright.
We like being that boat.
With our long days of pouring ourselves into boat work, we were in need of a break, and the perfect excuse to take one fell right in our laps. It was our 12-year wedding anniversary, and after a few failed attempts to celebrate it properly in the past, we wanted to do it right this year. Heading out to the coast, we strolled the beaches of Hutchinson Island and were treated to the strong trade winds blowing through and local surfers taking advantage of the swell. Rarely having the opportunity to take in the sight on our travels, we settled in to watch this activity neither of us are skilled enough to do on our own.
anniversary, so we decided to take a break from what little boat work we actually started once we got back from our vacation and head over to our favorite beach just outside of Stewart. It's Bathtub Reef Beach on Hutchinson Island. We came here last year with his mom and had a fantastic time, and we really don't get here enough as we should for just days of relaxing, so it's been the perfect way to unwind and spend our anniversary together.
We got our upright poles back from the welder. We actually had them tack each one of the corners so we could bring it back and pull them into place. And then once the angle was correct, we ended up bringing it back to the welder, had them finish up the bead around. They actually turned out wonderful. Shocked that it fit as well as it did. We weren't 100% sure if we were getting the angles right on each one of them. We then, when we got the welded pieces back, of course it wasn't an absolute perfect fit. We tried our best, but there was still a little bit of gap at the top. So we ended up just bolting it into place, putting a little bit of tape on top, some packing tape, which typically removes easily from epoxy. And then we used thickened epoxy that I ended up using chopped strand in, and some colloidal silica to give it some strength, and then just jammed it into position and took a straight spatula to flatten it down and get our angles right. After about a day, we ended up popping it off, and it turned out great. Now we're in just seeing it just with the one bolts in each one of the corners. The stiffness was incredible. It's actually going to be a nice strong structure, but it actually did turn out great. One of the reasons that we did build the wooden frame is also to check functionality, to make sure that we could stand below it, sit below it, still climb in and out of the companionway if the boards are in, and also to make sure winch position and clutch and traveler position. So that was really important. Had we not done that, we would have made a big mistake. I was thinking that I'd have enough room for the winch handle to rotate, but once we did lay them into place, found out that the winch handle actually would have impacted where the upright post went. So going through, checking that a few times and adjusting as needed made a huge difference. Here you can kind of see the backside of the top. To gain a little bit more stiffness, I ended up cutting strips of 1/2-inch foam, gluing those into place, and ended up using 2 layers of 6-ounce fiberglass tape on top, epoxying those into place as well to give it a little bit more rigidity. Also, it highlights where the posts are going to be.
We're not done yet, so stay tuned as we work to complete this project in future episodes. Right now, Georgia and I are out for one of our nightly walks, and we keep her tied up near the boat to one of the palm trees, and she just kind of sits in the shade all day and plays, but we feel a little bit bad, so once in a while we try and get her out, usually in the storage yard, just to roam around. And of course you can't really walk a cat more like they walk you, so it's always interesting when we go out to see where she's going to drag us to next. Join us in our next episode where we make an attempt at getting our mast and rigging back up. And once again, join our friends Kaddy and Johannes on their catamaran in Fort Lauderdale to ring in the new year.